in talking to you.
Namaste viewers, welcome to Jaipur Dialogue USA. Now what happened? Why are we having this problem? Namaste viewers, welcome to Jaipur Dialogue USA. Now what happened? Why are we having this problem? Namaste viewers, welcome to Jaipur Dialogue USA with a special edition on Sunday 10:30 a.m. Now, what we want to talk about is Sanatana Dharma. And what is the opportunity, relevance, and impact? That's the broad topic that we have decided to talk about today, because this is a subject matter which involves every Hindu, every Indian. It must. And what is important here to remember is its relevance in the current context. We want to talk about that. Majority of the Indians living in America, they have awareness, but they have no full knowledge about what exactly it entails. There's a battle between dharma and religion, but the Sanatana Dharma definition is very simple and very easy. It is gender, color, race neutral, is non-discriminatory, is accepting of everything and everyone as is. It believes in the concept of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. We want to talk about this subject matter in greater detail. And this is not the last one. We will have many more conversations because we can't cover the entire ramifications of this entire principle in 1 hour. And our intention is to educate, reach, learn, and enable people to take the message forward to the world around us. To discuss this matter, I have great pleasure in welcoming Mr. Aditya Satsangi. Aditya Satsangi is a founder of Sattology, in which he talks about debunking mythology about Hindus and Sanatana Dharma. He is an ardent supporter of ISKCON. He is an entrepreneur and author of many books. So welcome, Aditya ji, and welcome to this show. And wanted you to share the entire ramifications of this principle. You have been on many shows in the past. You have been virtually a warrior, if I might describe you. You have been a warrior to expand the concept and bring it home to many Indians who are living in this part of the world globally. India, whoever is in India, they have adequate knowledge, information. But principally, Indians living outside, they are a little bit of a confused lot. And I have interacted with a lot of them. What I notice is there is a tremendous amount of desire and enthusiasm to be relevant to the conversation around the world between the Brahmanic faith and their insistences and assertions, and our simplicity of the message that must reach everybody. So I noticed that they are very concerned, they're very enthusiastic, very desirous, but they are missing out on one element, is a leadership. How do we guide them to create a movement in this particular world today, beset and bedeviled with so many problems? So one of the things that I wanted to talk about in Sanatana Dharma, do reach out to people and share your thoughts about it and what must all NRIs do, especially Hindus particularly, that they have to stand up for themselves to take this message forward. I am a believer in the concept that unless and until we talk about our own narrative, we get defined by others. And therefore, one of the classic things is we are the most peace loving practice in the world. Most. But we are the ones who are attacked as if we are the most discriminatory people in the world, as if we are the most intolerant people in the world. And we are branded as a Hindutva kind of a thing, as if it is some evil. Go ahead.
First of all, thank you so much for such a warm introduction, and uh, and thank you so much for inviting me for this conversation also. And I really respect your platform from which you're speaking, and you all have done a wonderful work together. So, speaking my engagement in the U.S., I've been active since '97 in the U.S. Very active in this area, and I have worked with mainstream Americans all my life. Indian Americans I started interacting in last 2 or 3 years mostly, and since then, since 2015, I think, which is now 6 years. And my experience is that Sanatan Dharma becomes attractive to Americans in the manner we explain it. So, so the way if we like, for example, if I'm trying to sell you a product and I'm not too sure of about that product, then people are not going to buy from you. Sanatan Dharma also needs a similar explanation, which is more relevant to the people to which we are speaking to. Now, so when we talk about Sanatan Dharma, my experience is that Sanatan Dharma is very attractive, naturally powerful, and it has all the things which Americans are looking for, and we have to also explain in a way that they can understand. So more and more Americans, who are running away from Christianity and Islam, it was Islam in Middle Eastern philosophy, and also Judaism, they are becoming attracted to Sanatan Dharma because of the simplicity and the openness that it offers, the wide ranging topics of spiritual advancement it offers. And many of them are also trying to steal that from Sanatan Dharma. Like, for example, in Los Angeles, there is a yoga school running called Christian Yoga. Now, it's a very funny term because both are opposite of each other. First of all, it is Christian, that means you are from the book, you cannot have an open mind. And the second is yoga, which is all about the open mind, is
Right.
mindfulness. So it's an oxo. So when I spoke to them yesterday, I was giving a talk to their church, and when I spoke to them, and I said it's an oxymoron because you are at the same time you're saying open close. It's like open close is an oxymoron. So Christian yoga is an oxymoron also. Open close. So you are trying to open your mind, but still you want to believe in Christianity. So I have no problems with your faith. If you believe in Apple, I'm happy to say that Apple is good. I'll say what you say want to say, Apple is good. But if you want to say apple and orange taste the same, then I have a problem because it is not a scientific fact. So so my contribution to this our culture has been Sathology word, which is a antonym of mythology. That's what I've contributed, because over the years I thought that the mythology word, and even Christians don't like the word mythology. They don't like, because they always say Jesus was real. And
Right.
but we all know it's a mythology. We all know because there is no established fact about it, and many Christians are questioning it also. But to respect for them, because any faith is at least a good faith. But a man without faith cannot survive. So I say you can have faith in a stone, you can have faith in a rock. If you're stepping next step on your foot on the ground, that means you have a faith. So so some faith is good, so you cannot say that you don't practice anything. But I say, if I give you something better, will you take it? And that's where it starts. I will stick to your question. So my experience has been Sanatan Dharma is very widely respected, depending on the person who explaining it.
That's a very important one, and that requires, depending on who is explaining it, the explainer must know enough to explain,
That's right.
right? So, in from that point of view, it is important to know that what is the level of education. This is a very critical thing because in India, while I was a student here, there nobody taught us the concept of Sanatana Dharma or Hinduism in the manner that we are discussing today. So,
Yes.
viewers, before I want to indulge in a home housekeeping thing, please like, share, subscribe to Jaipur Dialogues and Jaipur Dialogue USA, and also subscribe to Sathology channel, because that's very important, because the truth can come from anywhere. You may like from any place. That's something that appeals to you. So join Sathology club, join Sathology YouTube channel, and learn more, because learning is key to moving forward. And what Aditya ji said very correctly, who is explaining it? So that is what is important. And I have been explaining it to the to the American audiences, and each one of them tells me, why the hell don't you tell us about yourselves? And you are right, Aditya, because people are asking for, in my impression of things, he, it is important for us to spread the word. If we do not spread the word, nobody else will. And what is important here is that Sanatan Dharma has a scientific base to it, because it's all about nature and life in nature. Abrahamic faiths are a textbook prescription. So, as Aditya ji mentioned earlier on, that if you're following a book, the whole concept of freedom of religion, for example, freedom of religion, I have asked my Christian friends that, does freedom of religion exist as a political tool, or is it indeed an spiritual value? Because freedom of religion is actually to practice whatever you believe in. But if you say Jesus is the only way or Allah is supreme, that means my freedom is gone with the wind. That is where you begin to engage in a conversation. It's not about arguing or proving something wrong, but it's only saying, like I say to people, if you find your solace and your belief and your inspiration from Jesus, good for you. But don't tell me I'm wrong if I'm a believer in Krishna. That's the point which I'm trying to make. So, Aditya, going forward, there are a lot of topics to talk about, but today I wanted to focus on a few things, which is in the minds of many young Indians and older Indians and Hindus in name only, because we have never been prescriptive in our narrative. We have never said this is the only way, because we say you seek your own path. But does it become a challenge? Because people look for direction, leadership. It's a common feature of the world, which is what Abrahamic faiths do. They provide a leadership, as they call it, shepherding the herd. How do we inculcate that sense in people to learn about Sanatana Dharma? What does need to happen?
Thank you so much for this good question, Vibhuti ji. Number one thing is shepherding the herd is a very derogatory statement.
Yes, it is.
That means you're assuming that your followers are like sheep with no brains.
Correct.
Number one,
Correct.
and you can also, you can, when you say you're not acting with brain, that means you're like an animal. So shepherding the herd is for non-Israelites and also the people Gentiles. Gentiles is a racist term which was invented for people who do not ascribe to the one book culture, and Muslims will call them kafirs. That is one there. Secondly, you have touched upon a very important point here. See, the first of all, you have to know what you are speaking. The Sanatan Dharma begins with Harinam, Swadhyay. There is a wrong conception amongst the Indians, and that is not approved by the Shastra. Shastra doesn't say from Gyan comes Bhakti. It's a reverse way. From Seva comes Bhakti. Seva. So, like what you are doing, you have done all your life. When you serve, then you start gaining Gyan, because our process is based on experiential science. It's an experiential science. Yoga is not a philosophical term. It's an experiential science. Like for example, when you do pranayam, and in the pranayam, when you do pranayam, you are actually experiencing the power of managing the movement of air within your body. And when you do that, you increase your ayu, or the lifespan. So this is the very scientific process. The second aspect is the learning the principles of Shastra. The see, just by reading or remembering some shloka, you do not learn Shastra. It's a very simple thing. Like for one very simple saying is yad yad acharati shreshthas tat tad evetaro jana. Yeah. See, whatever a great man lives and performs, the common man follows. This is the line in Bhagavad-Gita. Now, here Krishna tells Arjun that if you think you are Shrestha, then you have to set a good example. Lokas tadanovartita. He says about himself, he says, if I do not set a good example, the common men will not follow even me. So when even Bhagwan comes down here, he focuses on karma. So karma leads to dharma, and dharma, before dharma, your seva karma leads to jnana. So this is the cycle we have, and this Americans accept very easily, because everybody will say, in the Christian world, and since I preach a lot to the Christian and Muslim followers also, so the faith and works is a big conundrum in Christianity, which most of the people do not understand.
Mm.
In Quran also, it's a big conundrum, faith and works. So your actions, like for example, many of the Islamic scholars become very defensive in front of me from the word jihad. See, the it's a very misunderstood term also. But when I explain them from Bhagavad Gita about their concept, they are very enlightened. You know, even they are learning from Bhagavad Gita. So the faith and works is very easily explained in our Shastra, and no commonsensical man, unless you meet somebody crazy who is out there with a sword to kill you out, those are crazy people. But majority of the people will accept that your actions define who you are, not
Absolutely.
your speech.
Right.
And that is exactly what Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. Yad yad acharati shreshthas tat. He did not say yad yad vachati shreshthas. He did not say whatever a great man speaks, common man follows.
Right.
That was the Roman philosophy, which Christianity adopted. And right now, the Christianity is working on yad yad vachati shreshthas. Whatever great man speaks. No, our Shastra is not like that. And on just one this simple point, they are defensive now. So our biggest convincing argument is, a very scientific argument is, actions speak louder than words. कर्म is प्रधान, कर्म प्रधान है, कर्म से ही धर्म होता है,
Absolutely.
धर्म से कर्म नहीं होता.
That's so well said. And there are a couple of things which I always tell people. Doesn't matter what you pray, who you pray to, and how many times in a day you pray to. Eventually, it is your action that defines who you are. That is the mool mantra of mine, which I share with people. And I gave an example. I gave an example to a friend of mine who is of Islamic faith. He asked me this question: you guys worship so many gods, you don't have any requirement for prayer as well? And I said, listen, there's a very simple example. If your guy prays 5 times a day, blows himself in the market, kills 20 people, and I'm the one who perhaps prays once or twice a week, I don't necessarily go to the temple. I go to the temple once in a way. But on that particular day, that fatal day, I am taking 5 people to the hospital whose life gets saved. So from your definition of things, who is Khuda ka banda? Me or your guy? And they all say, you are right. You are Khuda ka banda. So I said, that's where it is important that eventually it is our action that defines us. For the purposes of today's conversation, I wanted to, we are a lot of people who are watching, they want to know more. They want to know more. They want to be guided. I won't say they want to be herded. They want to be guided. They want to know where to read, how to imbibe, and how do we take the message forward. It's not about vad vivad, it's not about argument, it's about making inquiries. And I have been telling people that get engaged, get to know yourself. And I remember 1983, October, a conversation in Bangalore when a very famous management consultant from Harvard had said that Indians do not need to go to Ivy schools in America to study management. Management and life lessons are all there in Bhagavad-Gita, Ramayana, and Mahabharata stories. You learn from there. So go, don't read, study. Study them, and your life, the quality of your life will become better. But this brings to a frequently asked conversation, accused of. If you look at the modern landscape, there is an attack on everything, as I call it, things Hindu, things India, right? So, one of the things is caste and caste issue. And this is one of the things which bothers. And as you may be aware, in many parts of California, they're making it as a national issue today. There have been discussions in Santa Clara, even in Los Angeles, school community talked about this for hours. Share your thoughts. I have my thoughts, and I don't want to say it here. I want people to hear from you the definition of caste, and then I will tell you my definition of caste, which I have shared with many Americans. It is funny, but it drives home a point. Go ahead. Caste and Varna. And at what point in time did Indian society get afflicted with the disease of caste? How did that entire definition happen? This is a challenge which most of the people say, that's how it has to be explained.
Before I talk about it, I'll just want to make a point on the Muslim that you said. Most of the Muslims who tell you that you don't have prayers, requisite number of prayers, or you don't have a system of praying, they are actually guided by the jihadi thought coming from Wahhabi school. It's a negative propaganda against Hinduism or Sanatana Dharma. In fact, Sanatana Dharma has a prayer of Kirtaniya Sadahari. Our system is 24/7 prayers. So even if we are doing a charity work, then also we are praying and doing it. That's how we make it a karma.
Mm-hmm.
Now, coming back to the caste system, uh, Kastha, if somebody asks me, do you have a caste system in Hinduism? Now, first of all, you have to understand that the person who is asking you has already made up a mind to denigrate you, humiliate you, because it is a very racist question to ask. You can sue them in courts also for that, because the word casta is coming from Portuguese. It means a class. So caste system never existed in India. It's the Portuguese class system or the Spanish system. So if somebody asks me that question, I say it's a Spanish in origin, Portuguese in origin. Ask them. We don't have a caste system. So I'll tell you the history of that. The word caste was introduced in India in the 1901 census instituted by the British and under the guidance of Herbert Hope Risley. Herbert Hope Risley was an anthropologist who decided that which is an upper caste and a lower caste by the width of the nose, length of the nose, and the height of the nose. That was the criteria for establishing the caste system by Herbert Hope Risley. Check it out. And the and you can see him everywhere. He was the successor to the Max Muller and Macaulay's. Max Muller and Macaulay's made the work in 1838, 1888, early 1900s, and Herbert Hope Risley came to install or formally introduce caste system in India. And the background is, if you look at the history of Christianity right from the 16th century, Christianity has survived because of Roman, like the anyone who accessed Roman thrones. So Christianity has used the Roman Empire to spread Christianity across the world. Very, very hierarchical and very rewarding to the upper class only. And that's why you see the system of nobles and elites versus commoners. That is very common in Spain, Portugal, France, Italy, and all these places where the Roman Empire seat was there, including Istanbul. Istanbul was known as Constantinople earlier. So the history of caste in the European system has been very big. And I'll tell you one more recent example. Recently, there was a Black History Month. I think it was March in San Diego. And they said in the opening, in the website, they said the upper caste and the lower caste, the caste discrimination against the blacks. That's what they wrote. The University of San Diego wrote it. It's a Christian university.
Mhm.
Now, and I challenged them over there. I was one of the speakers over there. I challenged it over there that how come you have writing about caste system. Earlier you were telling about Hindus. He said no, caste is not a Hindu word. It's a or European word, and that's the American academic definition of the caste. Now you have asked me. Second part is Varna. Varna means alphabet or a category. Chatur Varne Maya system Guna Karma Vibhagasha. So with the same mother and father, so there are Krishna says that there are four Varna, which are naturally found in the society. He did not say, and naturally whatever is found in society is created by him. That there is a business class, there is a administrative class, there is a education class, teachers class, and there are workers class. Four classes are there. Now the classification of those classes is not based on birth, because he says chatur varne maya sasham guna karma vibhagasha, according to the qualities obtained from the nature and their karma. So if you look at the definition of these four categories, it is also mentioned in the 18th chapter of Bhagavad-Gita, 18.41 to 18.47. Please read it. So where you see Chhatra Karma Svabhavaja, Brahma Karma Svabhavaja, Vaishya Karma Svabhavaja, and Paricharyatmikam Karma Svabhavaja. So everything is based on your nature and your actions. So same mother and father can have four category of children also. Like for example, he can have one child as a teacher, another child as an administrator in the police, and a third child can be a businessman, and fourth child can be a very good employee of any other classes. Like you see, Vaidya, Vaidya are also considered in the service class, because they live. Their job is to take care of health of everybody. There are laws over there. Similarly, artisans, actors, actresses. These are not the main occupations, but these are secondary occupations. The main occupations are trade, agriculture, and cow protection, goraksha, because cow is a very important aspect in the varnashram system. Now, so the difference between varna and caste is the definitions are completely different. Caste is a exploitative term. Varna is an empowering term. There is a very strong connotation over there. Varna respects you. So if you're a good warrior, why would I want you to become an engineer? I want to make you a good warrior. If you are a good doctor, why would I want to make you a warrior? Because you're a good doctor. So it enables you to excel in your own choice of profession and liking of your character. So this is the Varna is a very empowering term. So when I explain this to Americans, they love it, because I always give references. I do not speak in the air, and they love that part, because always say, I'm not saying it. This is the shloka I have given you. You read it, and if you do not understand it, read three before that, three after that. That's how you learn it.
This is brilliant because there are two things that I take from here is that incidentally, it so happens, that's my explanation too. And that's what recently I was asked this question because of my interactions with many people. They said, you guys have a caste system. I said, yeah, there is a caste system imposed on us, and we are attending to the issues arising out of that. That's the fact. The government is taking constitutional actions to protect those who are designated as such. But you guys are worse. And I engaged them in a conversation. I said, but you guys have not only a caste system, but you also have a racism in your country. Are you happy about that? But according to you, you are doing a lot about racism. Tom Cotton, and there are many people who say that there is no racism in America. But the issue here is very simple. And I gave the modern definition to that. I said every country, and you alluded to the family part of it as well. So I say the same thing. I told people that, look, and it is for the viewers, imbibe that and share that concept that every society, every family has its own caste system. And let's define it in that manner that everybody from prime minister or presidents to the lowest level of government worker who are in the government, who are governing, who are laying down rules and regulations and laws, how the society must run and administer itself, those people are the modern Brahmins. You have it there. It's not a caste based, it's a profession based. Likewise, from the armed soldiers to the bodyguard, to a bank security guard, to a guard in a gated community, they are meant to protect and defend the assets and life, and in the process, they could sacrifice their lives. So those are the modern Kshatriyas who are willing to give their life to protect and defend an asset and life. Third category, which you also talked about, is the trade and commerce. So whether it is any businessman, any manufacturer, or in India, as they say, the guy selling pan and cigarette in front of a restaurant, everybody is doing a trade and commerce. Everybody is Vishya, and everybody else, whether it's a banker, accountant, doctors, sanitation department, everybody who is offering his services are the modern service sector, including information technology and everything else. And there is no ban on anybody becoming something else, as you very rightly said. That if I'm a good in providing a service, why would I go and make myself miserable by being something that I'm not naturally and physically and mentally capable of? That's what casteism, if you want to talk about, is worse only when you mandate and stipulate that once you are in service sector, you can't become anything else. There are doctors who are in governance. There are military people who have joined the administration. There are people who move from one group to another group. There is no ban on that. It's only when we mandate that people cannot move, and once you are X, you remain X forever. The second part was you talked about the study. I always say my example is that by memorizing the dictionary, you don't become a linguist. Just as to become something you have to practice and you have to become better. That's what is important. Just by reading a text, you don't become a good human being. You become a good human being by doing the good things and the right things. One of the key questions that affects Hindus is, I hear this cry all the time: Hindus have no unity. Hindus can't need Hindu unity. We need Hindu unity, and this particular thing is talked about. And my response was that unity is not a shirt or a dress in a hanger. You go and pick it up and wear it, and you have, voila, there is unity. It doesn't happen. Unity always happens behind a cause and a purpose. The classic example in the 21st century, a few months ago, was when the symbol swastik was attacked. There was a legislation being made to declare swastik as a hate symbol. Every group of Hindus united everywhere in this country, and they fought and they negated that. That's what I appeal to people, that when you want to unite, you have to create the unity behind a purpose. Your thought on it?
So I'll also give one comment on the caste also before I answer this one. Number one is, if when anyone who's accusing in California, a simple answer to them is abolish all positions. Caste means positions and class. So senator, everything should be resigning. Everyone should be resigning. Everyone will become a commoner. That means we are introducing communism.
Right.
So they will not do that. Secondly, they should not take money from wherever they are being funded to speak against Hinduism or Sanatana Dharma. They will not do that. So for them, foolish people, I rather keep quiet and just put a lawsuit on them. That's very simple. In a way. Very simple. There is a foolish people, you don't have to argue much, because Murkhanu Upadesh kabhi dete nahi hai.
That's
We
right.
never give Upadesh to Murkh people.
Right.
Now, coming back to this question that you asked, the unity. Now, the unity is the nature of this world. The word unity, or unos, from Latin, come from ek. Un means one before. Sanskrit word is one before. We say unanchas. Unnis. Unnis means one before 20. Unnis. The word unos comes from Sanskrit word. That means one before. Now, the only one before us is Bhagwan. So the word unos means Bhagwan. The word university means a place where you learn about Bhagwan, unos, that one guy. So Latin and Sanskrit are very closely connected. And all my books, I've written 7 books, but all my books have that connection. The Latin has come from Sanskrit, which even uh, all the scholars accept also. Many common words are there. We'll have a different topic conversation on that. So the unity means coming together for the unos, for one. Now it is said in, and Brahmaji, I'll quote here. Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha Anadir Adir Govinda Sarva Karan Karna. This is Brahma has said. You know, Krishna is said in Bhagavad-Gita. He says, Aham Sarvasya Prabhu Matta Sarvam Pravartate. I am everywhere and everyone lives for me, because of me. Then he tells Arjun, Man Mana Mad Bhatto Madhyaji Mam Namaskuru Mama Yavashati Satyane Priyajani Pratiyosime. So there are many examples, he says, like if somebody wants to attain peace, Krishna says, Bhoktaram Yakatapasam Sarvaloka Maheshwaram Suridam Sarvabhutanam Gyatva Mam Shantim Richati. So our Vedic scriptures are very clear. First of all, there is no competition between Shakti. Again, a Western colonial imposition. They introduced in India Shaivite versus Vaishnavite versus Shakti worshipper. That is stupidity. That was never existed in the Sanatana Dharma. Never existed. It started from 1888 after the Max Muller and Macaulay started introducing, because that guy is a British Christian. He's trying to see everything from a Christian point of view. And Christian world means that I'm superior than you. Like their work is, see, our Vedic conception is, I'm your servant. I'm lower than you, sir. Always. Whenever I come to you, Vibhuti I'm lower than you. You are my master. That's how we say it in a Vedic culture. And that's how everybody says it. All the masters, all our gurus say, we are your servants. We are smaller than you.
Mhm.
Nobody says, I'm a teacher. They say, I'm a sadhaka. I'm a servant of my guru. It's a Christian concept who says I am the boss. हम लोग बोलते हैं दासानुदास, मैं बोलता क्रिश्चियंस बोलते हैं बॉसानु बॉस. So it is their small mindedness that they introduce the culture of Shaivite versus Vaishnavite versus Shakti. Now I'll tell you an example of Vishwamitra ashram. In the Vishwamitra's ashram, there were all kinds of rishis. Some people were worshipping Prakriti, some people were worshipping Brahman, some people were worshipping Parabrahman, some people were worshipping Paramatma, some people worshipping Nahari, some people worshipping Shiva, Ganesh, all the different Devi Devta, all
Correct.
are considered Sanatani.
Correct.
Everybody, because they are following. See, I tell you one thing. Suppose you are worshipping Durga. You know, she's a mother, she's a material mother. Whose wife she is? Shivji. And who is Shivji? Came from Brahma in the material world. Otherwise, in the spirituality exists Sadashiv. What is he chanting? Narayan. He said in Bhagavad Puran, that is said in Mahabharata, that is said in Ramayana, many places it is said. What is he chanting? So it is totally stupidity that Shiva is competing against Vishnu and Vishnu is competing against Shiva. There are one or two leelas are there, but that doesn't say the whole personality. It's like, for example, Vibhuti ji, if you say I love ice cream and every time you come to my house I give you only ice cream, बोले क्या बकवास है, next time I'm not going to come to your home. मैंने तो एक बार लाइक किया था, हर बार थोड़ी लाइक करता हूँ मैं 24 घंटा.
Right.
Is that argument is as stupid as that? Suppose you play cricket, or here I play golf. It doesn't mean that golf is my life. No, it is just 2-3 hours in a week, or 5 hours, 10 hours in a week, or 3 games in a week. That's it. It's not that I'm going to golf for 24/7 just because I like it. So that that kind of logic is there. That so unity in Sanatan Dharma is inbuilt. It is said in Shastra, Sam Siddhir Haritoshanam. That means whatever we do, whatever we create, eat, or give away, we do it for the pleasure of Hari. That is the unity. So unity in Hinduism is built in. Whatever division we see are coming due to outside influences, because we have not understood our own culture. Hinduism is the only culture, Sanatana Dharma is the only culture which unifies nature, spirit, Paramatma, our nature, Atma, Paramatma, and like Prakriti, Atma, Paramatma, Kal, और समय, सबको एक साथ वो कंबाइन करता है. सो दिस इज द बिगेस्ट यूनिटी प्रिंसिपल. द डिसयूनिटी, जो अपेरेंट डिसयूनिटी, अभी नाउ आई गिव यू प्रैक्टिकल एग्जांपल. इफ हिंदूज वर disunited, how would Narendra Modi got elected in 2014? How would he again got re-elected in 2019? So we may have differences, and in America we have too many differences, and we don't unite on anything. Like we have elected Biden, we have elected everybody else. That is not the barometer on which we should judge our unity. Number one, because that is a political thing, and that is purely get driven by emotions rather than fact. Whosoever can advertise more on Facebook gets popular. So if people have voted, but if you say, do you say, think that most of the Democrats are not dharmic? Indian Democrats, they're very dharmic. I meet them in the temples, I meet them everywhere, but somehow they could not understand the politics of America. That's why they voted in that way. So even today, the only disunity I ever see in the world is in, especially in the Hindu community from all parts of the world. America has Hindus from India, Fiji, Trinidad, and all other parts of the world. There are Hindus from everywhere. The only disunity I see sometimes is that they are not asking one thing from the government, and that is correcting the education. So whether you're a Democrat or Republican, I respect both of you, but we must ask. Our textbooks need to be changed, our identity needs to be established, and the Christians and Muslims must respect our faith, and Hinduism must be considered on par with Christianity and Islam in North America. There is an institutionalized racism against Sanatan Dharma, which we must challenge. That is a single platform of unity that we must ask, and we are not asking, and that's the disunity.
That's so brilliantly put in terms of unity. There is an element of philosophy, there is an element of reality, and then there is the brass tacks. Because we have to remember one thing, that in the world is remarkably imperfect, and people want to control, manipulate. These are classic human behavior, classic human sentiment. Those people who are able to rise above them, they become people like you and many others, because you have studied and you can speak with authority and confidence. But at the soldiers level, at the ordinary folks level, as the saying goes, is that what they must do. So unity of God is one, oneness is great, everything is fabulous. The point of the matter remains is that when you are hit at individual levels. So, for example, since you brought in the element of politics, and that is important, as the saying goes, that academicians may have called the systems as monarchy, democracy, socialism, and communism. In reality, the systems are controlled, manipulated by a select few in every system as it exists. How does one, how does an ordinary Hindu working here, an Indian working here, create that sense, particularly when people are mostly struggling to make two ends meet or lead a life? So there is a thing called system. Like in the US, we are used to stopping at 2 o'clock in the morning at a stop sign. A system has been created. How does, how do we create the system where people begin to participate? One of them is education, indeed, and that education thing demands to be rectified in India forthwith, as the saying goes, as I believe in. People have to learn. In this part of the world, seeking equality. Now, that's a very interesting word, because I thought, in my impression, and tell me if I'm wrong and where I'm wrong, is that you can't have an equality on everything. People like to govern the things the way they are. San Diego weather is different, New York weather is different. We can't say there has to be equal temperature everywhere. It is a difference. So my thought process is that we have to begin to respect individual differences. It's not tolerance. It is respecting individual differences and accepting of others as they are. And I'm very happy you made the mention of the fact, because this is what I have shared with many people. I think may have shared with you that we Indians are a very respected and liked immigrant community in this country. We are hardworking. This is what a senator once told me. We love you Indians as immigrants, right? You are hardworking, you are professionals, you have family values, you take care of your children, you are least problem from a law and order perspective, apart from the rare white collar crime or whatever. You are a highest median income and you ask for nothing. You you talked about that we ask for nothing. It's time for us to build our respect and clout by demanding in the democratic setup and a sense of equality, a sense of equal treatment instead of being attacked. Your thoughts?
You mentioned very important points, and I gave the definition of unity. See, there is a mantra. See, we have to learn from our Shastra. They are not mythology, number one. They are sathology, number one, because they are truth, science of truth. Now, very one important line is there. You'll see in every temple. Om Purnamada Purnamitam Purnat Purnasudachite
Right,
Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnam Eva Vashishite.
right.
Very common Yajurveda. It's from Yajurveda called Sri Upanishad.
Mhm.
It's a 40th chapter of Yajurveda, 40th or 41st. Now, this mantra says, whatever incompleteness you experience in your life is because of your lack of connection with Om. Om says Om Itye Kakshara Brahma. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, I am Om. He said, when you say Om, it's me.
Yes,
I
it's
put,
me.
you know. So now the three aspects mentioned in Bhagavad Gita. Even the intelligent people, Pavanani Manishana, Yagya, Dan, Tapa. These three actions are there. Now, and then fourth is Swadhyaya Abhyasanam, Chaiva. So four aspects are mentioned. So Yagya. Now I'm saying what can be done so that the Hindus feel strong and they can talk forcefully amongst, Narendra Modi is not strong because he can win votes. Narendra Modi is strong because he follows all these four very strongly.
Right.
People do not know that.
Mm.
Yagya, the biggest yagya in the planet is Harinam Japa. Shivji also does it, Durga also does it, everybody does it. Because everyone has one caretaker. Unos. Remember Unos? If
Yeah.
any Mexican is watching. You know? So it comes from Sanskrit. So yagya means japa. In Bhagavad Gita it is said japa yagya is the best. Japa is the best yagya. Dana, charity according to patratva. Like we should give our wealth to according to qualified people. Not for personal, not for personal favors, but to qualified patra. Patratva is very important. Third is tapa, some kind of austerity we need to do. Now, these three things I'm not asking you to withdraw from daily activities. All these three, you can give 30 minutes a day, 20 minutes a day. That's enough, whatever time permits. But this is important to do, at least begin. Now, this will give you enough energy to fight with all kinds of nonsensical people. Now, I'll give you example of Christians and Muslims, both of them. They may not follow our philosophy, but they regularly attend talks about for their own preachers, and they regularly engage in swadhyay of their own scriptures. So the Quran is guiding the Muslims, Bible is guiding the Christians. Hindus are relying on secular literature. They are relying on them to tell them what they should do,
Right.
and they rely only on the Western education system, and that's why they're weak. So we have to now swadhyay abhyasanam. Now Hindus have to do yagya dan tapa, very easy. You can do every day, very simple, and also learn about your own history. You have one book which is very important, which is Bhagavad Gita. Just one.
Right.
Just simply, I have read many scriptures on them. I have written many books also on those, but the one book Bhagavad Gita is enough, and that is such an important book that was banned in by Mahabharata was banned by the British, because anyone who reads that book, follows that book, will actually destroy all kinds of anarchist system. All the other systems are anarchist. They don't recognize Bhagwan. Like our
Right.
philosophy is Isha Vasyamidam Sarvam Yat Kinchit Jagatam Jagat. Their philosophy is not that. Their philosophy is Artha Sanchayan. Hook or crook, make money, acquire the land.
What's
That's
in
what they
it for
believe.
me culture? What's in it for me culture? Right.
Yeah, the entire corruption in India came from there.
Right.
Entire corruption in India is because of the European caste system. That is the basis of corruption in India.
Right.
The feudalism was not existing in India
Right.
because the land was always considered the property of Vishnu. So even the temples that we make, the deity is the owner of the land, not the temple. So the deity is a person over there in the temple, which is the owner of the land. We are made to forget all those systems. We have been told, and we teach our children the same nonsense that we were learned. It is the time for rewiring our brains and rethinking it in the right way. Otherwise we will lose the battle. And one thing is, I am always sure Sanatan Dharma always wins because it is protected by Vishnu. Many of the followers of Sanatan Dharma, which are current followers, may not follow what it is written, but I will gain new people who will actually follow, and Sanatan Dharma will be protected by them. So
Look,
it is
we live
our
in a world. We live in a world where imperfections exist. Right now, you made a mention, a very positive mention you did, and that was wonderful. However, there comes a moment in time that we have to move forward about what next. Now, education is key, no doubt about it. Learning is key. We have to do it ourselves and be guided by philosophies that are important. But as our common friend Sanjay Dikshitji talks about, and very, 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 very strongly with justification, all religions are not equal,
very
right?
beautiful. Yes, yes.
Right? He has established that fact. The question here is, how do we make that narrative to the people who are so regimented in their belief that they can't look beyond the book? And that's what is important. That when I say that, I tell them very simple, I have no problem, absolutely none whatsoever. If you find your solace and peace with Jesus or Muhammad, go for it. But don't tell me I'm wrong in my prescription or my leading my life. So, given the time constraint we have, we can't be talking. We can talk for all time long. We both of us can do that. The question here is at the practical level, when the rubber hits the road. In management training, we say you can go to a training program, get an emotional high, but when you go back to your desk, you are the same old rat. Punah mushko bhava. वो कहते नहीं है. My thought process is to take it forward, taking it forward. The individuals, how do they get motivated to do this? Is it the threat that motivates you, or the inspiration that motivates you to be better? Where will you make that distinction?
Very nice question. Very, very nice question.
Thank you.
Actually, first of all, I'd like to give my gratitude to Sanjay Dikshit ji. He's a very respected person, and he spoke on Sathology channel on all religions are not equal. Very nice topic he chose.
Right,
Now, very good question you said. Threat doesn't inspire anyone because threat creates fear.
right,
In fact, all the Abrahamic faiths are suffering right now because of the threat. So they are not living lovingly, becoming devotees of their gods or their books. You know, Christianity was forced upon people. There were crusades over there. Islam was forced upon people. If you look at the history of Persian Islam, and Sanjay Dikshit ji is much more worse than me, but if you look at the history of Persian Islam, I wrote in my first book, they created a brand new version of Islam called Ajami Islam in Persia. This hated Arabic Islam so much, and according to Arabic Muslims, Persian Muslims are kafirs. Can you hear me? Yes. According to Arabic Muslims, Persian Muslims are kafirs.
yes.
According according to Arabic Muslims, Pakistani Muslims are kafirs, and Indian Muslims are worse than them. So according to Arabs, okay. So threat has never created any good uh, dharmic person. So now coming to Sanatan Dharma persuades you, motivates you, and it gives you impetus to do good karma. So that is loving, and the Sanatan Dharma explains that Bhagwan is all loving, all caring, and he is a friend. You can have him as a friend, as a lover, as a neutral person, as any relationship that you want, you can establish with Bhagwan. So Sanatan Dharma is the in fact the Sanatan Dharma's another word is prem. Sanatan Dharma is prem, like it's actual love between a soul and Paramatma. So if you see Sanatan Dharma as an expression of love, care, feeling, and emotions, then it completely transcends any other ideology of the world. Bhagavad Puran calls all other ideologies other than Sanatana Dharma as Kaitab Dharma, means artificial faiths. So definitely all religions are not equal. Sanatan Dharma is the dharma of the soul, and it is the first dharma. When a child is born, he is already a Sanatani, but we pollute his mind with some kind of Kaitab Dharma and destroy
Mhm.
his identity. Yes, Vibhuti ji, please.
Yeah, thank you so much. I mean, we are out of time, but there is one last question that I wanted to, that burns in my mind all the time is that you always learn from others, learning from. So, what do I learn from Islam and Christianity? What I learned from them is that they have created institutions and they have created followers. In
Uh,
our practice, somewhere along the line, did we forget to create an institutional framework? And is this the absence of institutional framework leaves us homeless? But kahan jaun? So today we are talking about go and study Bhagavad Gita. Study. There is a difference between reading and study. But study will come once you start reading it. Dive deeper. So as a swimmer, to draw a swimmer's analogy, you learn diving only after you have perfected the art of swimming, right? Where does the Hindu society, the Sanatani society, lack the ability to have created institutions that people could go to learn? Yes, there is Gurukul system, there is ISKCON, there are other institutions there, but we got annihilated under the thousand-year rule. And what bothers me is the fact that you refer to 1901 census. Look at 1941 census. There were approximately 150,000 British in the country, plus women and children. They ruled us millions, using our resources, our people against us. Think about it from that point of view. That is a moment of shock for me. Oh my God. It was not that they were million, they were 150,000 and odd, and they ruled us. So, despite all the knowledge and wisdom that exists, does it make people suspect about themselves? Is it the self doubt that is preventing us from thinking that our literature, our teachings are strong enough and good enough to withstand the barbarian at the gate? And for us, it is important to understand the concept, Atiti Devo Bhava, for example. Yes, Atithi is God. You treat them as God. But if you have a barbarian at the gate who is trying to slit your throat, that's not the time to offer champagne and gulab jamun. He will take those two and still kill you. How do we make that knowledge awareness create in the ordinary people who have to live a life?
okay, number one thing is Christianity and Islam are destroyed by the structure itself. Number one, Vatican has actually destroyed Catholicism, has destroyed Christianity, and the Christians whom I speak to, they personally would like Vatican to disappear because they don't like it. So, organized religion is a curse on the human society. Only the government should be organized, not a religion. Now, Sanatan Dharma, in its natural form, is open for all. Anybody is welcome. Everybody can come in because it doesn't have an organization. Now, the implementation of Sanatan Dharma has an organization called Varnashram. Sanatan Dharma is implemented through Varnashram. So, Varna and Ashram system is the organized aspect of Sanatan Dharma, and which the British, what they did is very intelligently, Max Muller first destroyed Varnashram.
Right.
And because they destroyed the Brahmins, then the Kshatriyas were unprotected. The Kshatriyas don't have brains, they have body, but not brains, most of them. And then the real ones, they would just want to fight. Arjun was only interested in fighting. He said, okay, send me there, I'll fight it, I'll kill those people and bring it back. Kshatriya's nature is different. So British first destroyed the Brahmins. Islam first destroyed the Brahmins because they knew they are protecting the Varnashram. Namo Brahmane Devaya Go Brahmanetaya cha Jagadhitaya Krishna Govindaya Namo Namah. So Brahman is the most important aspect of human society because it is the brain of the society. And I'm not talking from the birth. I'm talking from the qualification.
Karma part of it. You are talking about karma part.
Karma, who is
Yeah.
educated,
Right.
who knows, who practices in his own
Right.
life
Right.
what he teaches.
Mhm.
So the Sanatan Dharma is inherently organized in Varnashram. But the organized religions are all political seat of powers. We all know Christianity took over the Roman power. Islam took over the prevalent dynasties of Jews. Islam did all their major temples on the Jews' temples and the Christian temple churches. And then later on, they took it on the Hindu temples. They built every single mosque in India is built next to a temple. Every single
Right.
mosque or on the temple.
Right.
So organized religions are a curse to the human society, and they have to be either de-recognized and or they have to be not considered important. So all religions are definitely not equal, and organizing religion is definitely not recommended in Sanatana Dharma. Now what we have to do is our governments need to follow Dharma, Sanatana Dharma. So we need to elect leaders in democracy who promote these values, and therefore the secularism concept is against organized religion because they were interfering in the governance too much. If you look at secularism, it is against the organized religion. Secularism was invented to oppose the church and oppose the mosques. That's why the Islamic countries don't want secularism in their country, because it will directly oppose the religious system in the place. And the democracy is also being subverted by the other countries because they want to control, they want to introduce. So Sanatan Dharma is a strength in itself. We don't need to change it. Anyone who has tried to organize Sanatan Dharma has failed. Anybody. Because the natural organization of Sanatan Dharma is Varnashram.
You called organized religion as a curse, and I call it that's one of the biggest mafias operating around the world because they play upon. And the English language is a funny language. You have two words: pray, P-R-A-Y, and P-R-E-Y. In one, you are praying to God; other one, you become a prey to the prayers to
So
the organized religion.
secularism was invented to stop them from interfering in governance. That is the word secularism invented.
That's why religion and religious interference in governance is the worst kind of a thing that can happen to you. That's. But the final thing that I wanted to touch upon is also a very important thing is readiness. Readiness. So where did this concept of ahimsa, that Hindus are non-fighters, not brave, we are ahimsa ke pujari, and I always say this at a practical level, whether you are vegan, vegetarian, or ahimsa ke param pujari, if you are attacked, if your family is attacked, you have to rise and defend. You have to be in a state of readiness to do that. That's what we are trying to talk about today, is that how do we arrive at the state of readiness to combat? These are realities. The rubber hits the road. What do we do then? Like, you do not become a good driver because you memorize the driving instructions. You do not become a good linguist by memorizing a dictionary. You don't become a good human being by reading great quotations. The question is that we have to imbibe those values in us. And that's what is important, that how do we imbibe the value? And the biggest thing is education, education, and education, learning, learning, and learning. So one thing which I wanted you to comment finally is that there are a lot of attacks on Hinduism, political attacks. You brought in the subject matter of politics, because politics, society, technology, economics, they all go together. They are intertwined. Nothing is isolated. The impact and implication of each one is, in a proportion to their usage. So, for example, in 1991, we used to pay $3.50 for a call to India. Today, the video conference globally is possible for free. So the question is, the political attack that happens, how do we defend against that? That is the crucial thing, that manipulation. Right? Secularism is great. It's a concept introduced to stop religious interference in the governance. But in secularism in India, is that only it applies to Hindus but not to others. How do we correct that scenario?
So secularism is primarily meant to avoid Christianity or a church to take over the power. That is the main
Mhm.
purpose of secularism. It's not against Sanatana, it's against Christianity and Islam. Both of them destroy people. Now, coming back to the point which you said, the uh, so first of all, the dharmic concept is we are neither left nor right. Both are extreme philosophies. Left ignores God, and right becomes creates violence in the name of God. Both are wrong. We are dharmic. We are in the middle. See, understand one thing: the life is all about gray. There is not a single character in Ramayana and Mahabharata which will say white or black, especially in Mahabharata. All the characters in Mahabharata are in gray. There is some good in them, there is some bad in them,
Right.
all of them. So what we have to understand is the life in Kali Yuga is especially gray, not black nor white. So just being a proponent of violence makes us stupid, look stupid. Or just being a proponent of non-violence. I have a joke on Mahatma Gandhi. Mahatma Gandhi said, if somebody slaps my right cheek, your left. I said, I'll give Mahatma Gandhi's cheek to you. You keep on slapping him, left, right, left, right, left, right. Do it as many times you want. Because I don't have that philosophy.
Right.
My philosophy is, Bhagavad-Gita says, Yuddhe che apalayanam. Shriti Daksha. So I have to be, a Kshatriya needs to be an expert, has to be powerful, has to be resourceful, and he has to be controlled in his senses, and he has to never show his back on the battlefield. That's our thing. That's why you'll see. So the Indian city people are the most confused people, not Indian villages. So people from the Gaon, they are very pakka. Therefore, Indian army never recruits from the cities because they'll be always confused what to do, because they are taught in the convent schools and gone through some stupid secular education, and therefore they always. But from the village, when you pick up a guy, he's very pakka. When he to fight with Pakistan, you don't need a Bombay guy. Bombay guy will only talk about some stupid Bollywood songs.
Aman ki asha.
That kind of nonsense. A soldier has to be very clear. Soldier needs to show a direction. That is the enemy. Just kill him, and that's how it works. So dharma is like that. Dharma gives you a direction. It's neither tells you you're violent or you're not even non-violent. We are commonsensical. We are logical. So if I have to fight to protect my dharma, I will do it. Uh, so a soldier, when he goes out, and dharma also creates a sense of discipline. So the philosophy that we have to be aman ki asha and hoping for peace against peace, that is a very esoteric utopian idea. If a lion is standing in front of you, I'm not going to go and embrace a lion. He's going to eat my head. If a snake is there, I'm not going to kiss the snake because he's going to put poison in my mouth. So I have to actually stay away from them, protect myself. So you know,
We
I
are we are running out of time. I'm 100% sure we will have many more conversations. I read a book. To the viewers, I would say that what you have probably heard today is remarkable wisdom and inspiration to read, study, and follow the concepts which are important. I read a book which was, I love the title of the book, Abandon Common Nonsense and Accept Uncommon Sense. What you have to remember is the critical element that defines anything. And if we do not stand up and define ourselves, we get defined by others. So the ignorance of others cannot destroy the wisdom of many. And that's the important part to bear in mind. Request to all the viewers, I hope you have enjoyed the show today. Like, subscribe, and share. Jaipur Dialogue India, Jaipur Dialogue USA, and my dear friends' channel Sathology, because that's where the education comes from. The more you dive, you cannot dive in the ocean or a pool unless you know how to swim. So let's learn how to swim before we dive. And if we want to dive, let's learn swimming. Both go concurrently. So thank you very much.
thank
My
you.
famous statement, Satyamev Jayate. Thank you, Aditya ji, for being
Namaste.
here. Thank
Namaste.
you.
Thank you so much.
Press the bell icon on YouTube and don't miss another update.